All right, welcome to the Domers podcast here, where we have myself, Ryan Palazzotto, and
me, Kellen Shepard.
And we are going to cover all things college football, but mostly our favorite team in our household, Notre Dame. The season is quickly approaching. We are 6 days away from really when college football starts up. Yesterday was just kind of an appetizer for the big week one coming. Yesterday we had Vanderbilt crushing Hawaii, which was a shock, and Northwestern beating Nebraska. A lot of people are shocked by that. I'm not so much shocked by that. Northwestern in even years typically has very good football teams, and I really feel Northwestern can really compete in that East Division this year and possibly go to the Big Ten Championship. Kellen, what are some of your thoughts going into the college football season?
I'm just really missing football. I'm just excited to get back and watch the games, really. So,
yeah, for sure. And from a Notre Dame perspective, we don't have an opportunity to start up the season with a layup game. I know our friends from Ann Arbor, Michigan, they open up with Colorado State. And, you know, I applaud Ohio State and Notre Dame for really setting this game up, you know, really putting everything on the line right out of the gate. I mean, if you go out there and you lose this week one matchup, your season's not done, but now you're faced with a playoff and you have to try to win 11 straight games. And if you look down Notre Dame's schedule specifically, you got Clemson right off the rip. You got Brigham Young in early October. We play them, and then finishing out the year at Southern Cal. We got a very tough schedule this year, and so it really comes down to taking care of business week one in Columbus. And if we were to win that game, it's going to springboard us to a very successful year. What's your early thoughts here? Man, really not early. What's your thoughts here, Kellen, on Notre Dame and Ohio State here in 6 days?
The thing about the Ohio State game is it's like the first week is always not your best week. So it's like you're always kind of rocky coming into the first week, which is really the main thing that I've been thinking about the Ohio State game. Sometimes you come out really rocky, sometimes you come out shooting, and it's really my thoughts about it. And
yeah, I mean, you look at Ohio State last year. You know, I know they brought in Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator at Oklahoma State, and from what I'm hearing, he's made a good transition in Columbus for them to be more efficient on defense. You look at Ohio State last year; their offense is phenomenal. They will go out and they'll put 50 points on you. The weakness of their team last year was the defensive side of the ball. I don't think they was as physical as Ohio State defenses were in the past. So, you know, you look at the mid-2000s with Hawk, Schlegel, and Carpenter. Those guys, they were hard to run on. This Ohio State defense, they played physical teams last year, and when they got hit in the mouth, they didn't bounce back. You look at Oregon, you look at Michigan, they got hit in the mouth, and they didn't want no part of it. And really, you look at week one last year for Ohio State against Michigan, before their running back got hurt, Minnesota was really controlling that football game. Their running back went down. Ohio State took control afterwards. Notre Dame has to be able to hit Ohio State in the mouth and we have to be able to run the ball and control the lines of scrimmage on both sides, that's something I think we will do. The question is can we get to Stroud in time before he hits those weapons on the outside? That's really what it comes down to me, and that's what we're going to be finding out in a few days. What do you think, Helen?
Ryan, didn't we lose like 2 or 3 of our linemen? Didn't a couple of them get hurt?
We lost one.
Yeah.
Jarrett Patterson.
Yeah,
he's questionable for the game, and that's unfortunate. Yeah, it's unfortunate because he's a captain. Brings a lot of experience, so if he's not 100%, do we play him? Is that going to cause an issue on that foot because he's going to have to be active, he's going to have to be fast. Rocco Splendor, I heard, will possibly fill that role. He's a young kid, talented, young, first-time start in the horseshoe in Columbus. Could be some communication issues. There's a lot of concern for me with this game, but Notre Dame has the talent to beat them. We just have to put it together, and we don't have time to put it together slow. We have to put it together quickly, and we have to really hit the ground running here in 6 days to be able to beat Ohio State.
Yeah, well, another big thing is Tyler Buckner. Will he be shaky because of his first starting appearance?
Well, I think so. I think he will. I think there's going to be nerves.
Especially going into a team like Ohio State, week 1, first ever starting appearance.
The one thing about it with Buckner is if there is some nerves, if there is some shakiness, one thing he has that we didn't have last year with Cone as the starter is athleticism. Let him, run a couple read options, zone reads, or design quarterback draws to get him into the game. Once he gets popped a couple of times, I think those nerves will go away. And we're going to... Yeah, the big question is, and it's been... Kelly did not leave the covered bear at Notre Dame. He did bring in great recruiting classes, but where he failed was wide receiver. When we lost Avery Davis to a torn ACL, we're down to just 5 or 6 scholarship wide receivers. I know we moved Xavier Watts over from defense to offense, but there's a reason why he was playing defense, and I hope it works out. But the problem is when you're going into a season and you're looking at you're potentially starting guys that, to be honest with you, wouldn't start on another top 10 college football team in the country at wide receiver. There's question marks there, but we have the best tight end in football, so if we can find ways to utilize him a lot like we did with Tyler Eifert in 2012, splitting him out wide, and he could be a top wide receiver. Really, he's too big for a corner to guard. He's too quick, I feel, for a linebacker, and he's too big for us. He's a matchup nightmare, and we got to try to get him the ball early and often on Saturday night to be successful in this game Saturday.
Who's our tight end?
Michael Mayer.
We still have Michael Mayer. Well, that's good. Well, I think we should move on to other matchups or stay on Ohio State Notre Dame.
Like I said, I think that, Saturday night, Columbus, Ohio is going to be the spot to be. All the country is going to be on this game. Notre Dame 17-point favorites. I think that's a little steep, but we're going to be motivated. Marcus Freeman played college football at Ohio State. James Laurinaitis played football at Ohio State. Al Washington, the defensive line coach, formerly coached at Ohio State. Tony Alford, the running back coach at Ohio State, coached at Notre Dame. It's really weird, the dynamic here between the coaches. A lot of ties with both schools, so that could play a factor into this as well. But I can't wait. Living in Ohio my whole life and being a Notre Dame fan, you have to deal with, the Ohio State fan base on a regular basis. So it's a great opportunity to shut them up and humble them a little bit. It's going to be a tall order, but I really feel like we're able to do this on Saturday. Now, some of the games on Thursday, getting away from that game for a minute, two that come to mind are Penn State, Purdue, and the backyard brawl makes a return with West Virginia and Pitt. Two interesting games. I really feel that Pitt is going to take a step back. I know they got Slovis from USC, but I would not be surprised to see WVU win that game, and I'll be rooting hard for WVU because I really do not like Pitt at all. Kellen, what do you think about Penn State, Purdue? I know we don't really know much about those two teams. I mean, I don't know if you do. I know I have a pretty good knowledge on Purdue, but I'll let you start.
I honestly just think Penn State is gonna. I'm not really sure. I am somewhat. I do like Purdue a lot because of my uncle. He coached there at Purdue, and but I do still think Penn State will win. I just do not think that Purdue will do well week 1 or week 2.
I really think that Purdue could win this game. That they return the best quarterback, I feel, in Aiden O'Connell. I feel like in terms of NFL, when you look at Stroud or O'Connell, who's more ready for the NFL, I really feel like O'Connell is the guy in that conference that is NFL ready. I do not, and they're at Purdue. I really feel like O'Connell could start off his Heisman campaign. I think Purdue's going to win that game by a touchdown or even more. I don't know if Penn State has the athleticism on defense to stop the Boilermakers. I know it's crazy to say, but I think Purdue is a team that could potentially win the Big Ten this year. Now, I might fall flat on my face for saying that, and the time will tell, but they got a good coaching staff and they got a good quarterback, so that's a good base for a good, successful year for Purdue. I'm pulling up the other games here this coming weekend. What do you think about Oregon and Georgia? I know that's
Oregon, Georgia. Oregon, Georgia. Oregon, they did lose Spencer Webb. He was going to be good this year. They did lose him. And I do think Georgia is still coming off of they are coming off of a national championship win, but I think that they will take a step down this college football season. I just don't know why. I just feel like they do. The only one I can really think of, they lost George Pickens to the NFL draft, but other than that, I don't know why I think they're going to take a step down. I just do. But
I think they're going to beat Oregon. I think they're going to beat Oregon.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I do think that they will beat Oregon, but still.
But they have to go through the SEC. And speaking of the SEC, Cincinnati Bearcats, who beat Notre Dame last year, go to Arkansas in the top 25 matchup Saturday at 3:30. I like Cincinnati in that game. I know they lost a lot to the NFL, but I mean, Coach Fickell, I feel, is one of the top tier coaches in college football, and they're going to be ready to play. They don't get a lot of opportunities in a 12-week season for them to show how good they are being in their conference. So this is their Super Bowl make or break. Like, if you're Cincinnati, if you want to make another playoff run, you better beat Arkansas. Otherwise, you're in a world of trouble. Also, another game I want to touch on is Sunday night, Florida State at LSU. Florida State last night, albeit it was Duquesne, they looked good running that football. I mean, I think they ran for something like 500 and something yards. And So they got to play at LSU. What do you think of that game, Kellen?
Well, I do think about one of the biggest things, obviously, are the LSU crowd. You know, those fans are crazy. They are crazy loud. The SEC crowds are insanely loud.
Yeah.
But I still do think Florida State will win by just a thread. I feel like they're either going to make like a game-winning field goal or game-winning touchdown.
Well, it's possible. I'm rooting for Florida State. I would love to see Brian Kelly take that L first game at LSU. I don't know. Looking at the rest, I don't think Georgia Tech is going to be able to compete with Clemson, even though it is at Georgia Tech. That's going to be a hard one to watch. North Carolina at App State, so that's an interesting game. It's at Appalachian State. Appalachian State is going to beat North Carolina. I watched North Carolina yesterday. Was not impressed at all. Yes, their offense put up 50-something points, but they gave up too many points to a team that had 20 kids that didn't even play for some reason. I don't exactly know what was going on, but that was a one possession game there for a little while. It's like, wow. I mean, it's the same old North Carolina. They'll put points up, but they're not going to be able to stop you. Give me App State and give me in the upset of the week. Everybody's really high on North Carolina State. Some people have them going to the Final Four. They have to go to East Carolina week 1, Saturday at noon on ESPN. I'm telling you what, man. That right there, that's the upset of the week for me. College football starts crazy. Week 1, give me ECU beating North Carolina State week 1 at home for the Pirates. Give me that. I'll bet that all day. What do you think, Cal? When you go through here, you see any potential upsets or anything like that?
Let me look. There's Temple Duke that we could go over. That might be a pretty good one.
Temple Duke?
Yeah. Two bad teams.
Yeah, two teams that are...
Two bad teams, good close game.
Yeah. You could be... It's going to be... I couldn't tell you one thing about either school outside of one's blue and white, one's red and white.
And one is really good at basketball.
Yeah. Give me Duke. They're at home.
Yeah, Duke. We've played Duke in 2018. We were kind of bad that night, but we still beat them by 15 or 14, 21, something like that.
I think Utah is going to roll Florida at the Swamp.
Wait, what?
Utah at Florida, right here, 7 p.m. That'll be an interesting game, but I don't think it's going to be interesting for long. Utah's physical. That's one game.
Utah did show up last year against Ohio State in the bowl game. They did show up. They won by a field goal.
And I'll give Ohio State credit in that game. Ohio State played a physical team. They answered the bell. But the problem is Utah couldn't stop Ohio State at all. I mean, it was just a track meet. Notre Dame cannot allow a track meet on Saturday night if they have any intentions of keeping that baby close. We've got to watch that clock and burn that clock. That clock is going to be either our best friend or our worst enemy.
Clemson's 4.
Yeah, Clemson's number 4 in the country. Really, I mean, that's pretty much touching on all the main games. I have my ESPN app up, just looking at all the games that we do have. BYU plays South Florida. I don't think BYU will have problems there. I think that BYU could be undefeated going into that October matchup against Notre Dame in Las Vegas. That's going to be a great game. But not to get ahead of ourselves, I'm not looking past week 1. That's for sure.
Not really sure what else to go over.
Yeah, I mean, I think
We have literally 20 minutes in our podcast so far.
Yeah, so we're going to try to do this once a week. We hope to pick up listeners along the way, and I have over 20 years of college football knowledge, and so I'm kind of an encyclopedia when it comes to this stuff. Kellen's been watching too practically his whole life, so hopefully people enjoy listening to this, and we'll pick up some viewers along the way and build a little fan base here, if you will. But yeah, we'll talk again after Saturday, and we'll give a recap of the game and get ready for our week 2 opponent from against a tough team, the Marshall Thundering Herd. We will be there for that game in South Bend, so we might be able to do a show live from South Bend.
Yeah. Might be able to get a couple of videos, show them up here. And this.
Yeah. Do you have anything else, Kellen?
No, not really.
I do not either. So hey, go Irish, and let's beat Ohio State. Let's start this season off with a W.